What's good? It's your boy AJ, and it's been a long while. I know you man are not expecting this type of video from me, especially being on my YouTube channel again after all this time is madness. But in the spirit of our documentary dropping, I thought I'll do a reaction to it and give you guys a bit of insight into the documentary. I'll put the full link below so that you guys can go and watch it because I'm gonna be pausing throughout. So you can see warning already, distressing content. Now, if you see all of this footage, like 2016, all of this old footage, is actually my footage. I'm the one that gave them the stuff to put into the documentary so that you guys can see what the reality was for us before this was filmed. Because 2019 was still a bit more calm compared to the early years.
First here to arrive on the scene. There's no one else here. We're worried about another strike coming. They're already saying there's a plane in the sky.
A time I will never ever forget. You can see me in the clip right there.
I've never seen this in my life.
The camera.
I thought I was a person that doesn't get afraid. Wallahi, today I'm feeling it.
Honestly, that line, a person that's never been afraid, but you know, we felt it in Aleppo. The bombardment was mad, and if you've been following me and, you know, watching the different content that I've been doing, the podcast that I've been doing, etc., you see that I still carry that, you know, that sentiment. I still remember those days, and it's a time that I will never ever forget because of how not only emotional it was, but how crazy that bombardment was. It was like nothing that I've ever seen before in Syria. You know, subhanAllah, walking through those streets and not knowing if we're going to be hit again after the hospital getting hit. All of this stuff was mad.
We don't have the luxury to take those antidepressant pills because we have to be awake and focused 24 hours.
So I remember we had a conversation with these doctors, yeah, and we were telling them that, look, in the UK, especially in the hospitals and that, you can't be smoking while you're, you know, stitching up patients, etc. And they kind of agreed with us. They were like, look, you're right. But after seeing what they go through in like the couple of days that we were there, you realize that that was their coping mechanism. And I'm not saying that's a good coping mechanism, but that was the way they were coping. So like the doctor saying here, you know, we don't have the luxury of taking antidepressants and stuff. This is literally how it is for us. We just, you know, this is our 1 second break that we get. So yeah, that's why that conversation happened.
Honestly, I don't know how you do it. I don't know how you do it. I mean, me every day, I think I've seen everything, and then I see something else happen.
Look, that.
Never ever forget the screams, man. From women, children, men, people in the corridor. Bear in mind, I'm like 16 at this point. I'm filming all these clips. They've blurred a lot of the stuff, but I saw this first time. The kids on this bed, you know, bleeding out. Subhanallah, it was a crazy time, and I can, even though it's blurred, I can still see those images and those pictures. The body bag, the kid that was inside there. I won't forget those times, man. Again, these drone shots, all of this stuff is my footage, man. And you know how happy it is as somebody that works in media, you know, when I see my clips on ITV, Channel 4, BBC, and now Al Jazeera, to add that to my catalogue. SubhanAllah, is amazing, man. It is amazing. You know, our goal was always to get the news out to you guys, to the people outside, so that you see what it's like. And yeah, man, this just tops the cake for us, man. So this is like day-to-day life for us. What we do is go to different people's tents, speak to them, especially when we're, you know, setting up our villages and camps, etc. We will kind of do this task throughout the months, to be honest, to try and look for families that inshallah will be able to help.
I'm like 3 personalities. Tokir, mummy's boy. And then I'm Tox, the East Londoner, adrenaline junkie. And then I'm Abu Hussam, the head of an organization responsible for thousands of people every month.
People don't realize how big that organization is inside Syria, how we have so many different departments. You know, we have up to 40 different departments, over 300, 400 staff. So it is a massive, massive task. And of course, my uncle being the head of that, it is something that is a weight on your neck.
My citizenship was revoked on the grounds that I am aligned to an AQ aligned group. I presume, and everybody presumes, what the British government is referring to is HTS.
This whole notion of citizenship deprivation, this is just what we're tackling in this documentary. The fact that the British government are allowed to strip your citizenship on the basis or on an accusation that you are linked to a organization or you have done something, not actually convicting you of that. So his house was actually by the school. He's always
first
wanted to
5
live
years of
in
this
his
journey, I was
projects,
on my own.
around the people and
Not a
whatnot.
care in the world, but
My
obviously
yard
as
wasn't there, but
time goes on and you got
alhamdulillah that
family,
we got really close.
that's
So
where
you get
the
to
concern
chill with
is.
everyone, etc.
So you're saying about you don't know what you really want to do right now with your case?
I only want my citizenship back if I'm proven innocent. I don't want to win on a technicality. Other brothers who have had their citizenships revoked, they've won, they've got their citizenship back, but on a technicality, yeah, that they're not dual nationals.
It's important to note that at this point, my uncle obviously knew that his citizenship had been taken because he'd received a letter to his parents' house where he previously lived. But as for the rest of us, me, my mum, his wife, etc., we didn't know what our kind of fate was. You know, my mum and ourselves, we lived in a council house in the UK. So once we'd gone to Syria, we had no kind of link to that house. So if, let's just say, a citizenship deprivation letter came to that house, we would never ever know. And obviously, off the back of, you know, my uncle being stateless, his children, who you can see in the shot, were not given their passports as well, which was very confusing. And still to this day, they haven't been given their passports. So yeah, it's a situation and something that affects not just one person but everybody around them.
My mum said to me, "Do you miss England?" And after I felt like, no, I actually don't. Like here, you do have like a certain like fear for your children. You know, obviously there's bombs and stuff going off but at home it's a different fear for their upbringing.
And we don't have to worry about drugs and knife crime and stuff like that.
It's a whole different situation, and I find
people like, probably listen to this will think we're crazy. They'll think that.
So one thing to note, and I had this conversation with my mum and my sister in our Hijra podcast. If you haven't seen it, go and check it out. Obviously, when they're talking and my auntie is talking about the situation in Syria and how she feels a little bit of safety for her children, etc., she's kind of drawing a parallel to what could have happened in the UK. And sometimes, obviously, they don't realize that sometimes it makes it sound like it's all good there, but the reality is not, you know, that's not the case. And I think my uncle pulls it back by saying, look, we're not comparing what it's like here and what it's like in the UK. Of course, we have our struggles there. We have our struggles in the UK and people go through struggles out here. So, yeah, sometimes, you know, you hear us say these type of things, but you have to remember, obviously, we're making good of our situation there.
Does he boss you around?
No. No, he doesn't.
Yeah, I forced her to wear that.
You see, our content has always been light-hearted, jokey. This is all my footage now. Crazy hair, days.
30% of what we need to actually complete the building work.
This refugee camp was hit by a storm. So, yeah, all the roofing, and this was a widow's camp. So we rebuilt it, and it was an amazing project. Project Hope, one of our first refugee camps that we've done in Syria, or rather renovated. And yeah, snowball fight, young AJ in the corner.
It's the snow, we're enjoying ourselves in the camps.
You'll never ever forget the sound of the children always shouting salams, etc. man. SubhanAllah. These are the roads that practically I grew up on. You know, I remember going there in the original days before you get into this clip. Going there in the original days, and there was literally one shop on the little roundabout that you can see. To see time fly and more shops come and more people move in, and obviously people come into the border town because we lived on the border. Atma is a border town to Turkey. Seeing, you know, people come there for safety and security was crazy, because yeah, man, it showed how that little village that was basically greenery when I went there in 2013 turned into a massive kind of town. And yeah, welcome to the media office. This is AJ's office, bro. Media office. So when I told you about, like, obviously the podcast, etc., how I used to run the media team, etc., this is what I'm talking about.
Within the British Muslim community, we were maybe the first people to start doing aid work and putting it out on social media and stuff like that. That was really something new.
Honestly, we started from Facebook and no views, maybe 2-3 people watching. And subhanAllah, now if you look at our pages, live updates from Syria, and the work that we've done, you know, through the help of you guys watching, 300k followers on Instagram, and you know, still building, man. So it's a massive testament to the work that you guys are putting, because honestly we couldn't have done it without you. Obviously this is all a blessing from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala first and foremostly, but the work and the efforts of you guys, you know, being here in the UK, seeing as well till today how much you guys do, is crazy, man. So yeah, man, this is a kind of a joint effort between us all, and that's why you guys are our family, man.
My nephew, he's someone that's also very engaged in the aid work. And for my nephew to be here doing something with a purpose is something that I can only encourage.
Now what you guys don't know is that they filmed so many clips of me. I've got all the behind the scenes of how they filmed these motorbike clips, and I actually directed these
in
shots.
London was really good. Chilling with my mates, going to school. But one thing we used to say is school can take you to a certain level, but being outside, being in a place
They
can
made
bring
me
you to the
sound
next
dumb,
level.
I'm not gonna lie.
I think I've grown up.
But then again, I was young and I didn't know how to explain what I was trying to say. But obviously, my point was that you gain a lot of experience through going through different things. So when you're traveling or when you're out of a school environment,
The way I see it is that if I'm ruled guilty, then that's basically going to be worse for me than obviously being deprived.
Yeah, you go through a process and you end up as a judge looking at all the information and saying, yeah, I believe the Home Office when the Home Office saying these things about talks. That just is more significant than just the Home Office saying.
I think also in terms of other countries, like now I've been deprived.
now with this, what people might not understand is why he didn't want to get convicted. Is one, because we know that we wouldn't get convicted. My uncle hasn't done anything in the slightest that's criminal. But the thing is, because it was going to secret court, they can convict him without him even knowing, because you don't have a judge. I mean, you don't have a jury. You don't have the right to see the evidence against you. So how can you fight a case that you can't see, if that makes sense?
If you take away the beard and the brown skin, it's hard to say
This
that
was
this
another
guy is
shot
not
that I
from East
directed.
London.
No, trying to give that
I am
London-esque feel.
British,
you know.
Pakistani, Muslim.
And we used to do this
East
anyway,
Londoner.
play footy with the kids, have a lot of fun. Again, some of these kids are in their teens now, man. They're not little babies anymore. Honestly, this is how we used to communicate all the time. We didn't have, like, only until I got back, so in 2022, or like late 2022, early 2023 is when my grandparents actually went and saw them in Syria. But before that,
Dad's
we had
saying, what's happening with the Turkish
no way of
stuff?
seeing each other.
It's not really affecting us so much because the areas that we are close to, these are areas that Turkey took previously. But the biggest threat or concern is obviously from a lot of these escapees from ISIS coming to these areas and just, causing mayhem.
This was a time where there was an airstrike on like a prison as well, and you had all these ISIS nutcases running out and doing madnesses. There's been a few times in my time in Syria where, we've seen car bombs that ISIS has committed. Even our own vehicles, they've tried to kill us many times where they've tried to put stuff under our cars. So, yeah, when there's a lot of fighting going on, that's when they decide to strike Muslims. So we always had to kind of be careful and be vigilant when it comes to that stuff.
Because Mr. Sharif's father is Pakistani, the Home Office says he wouldn't be stateless.
It's racist. If I was a white aid worker that worked for Oxfam, I don't think you'd be asking me the same questions.
Straight up.
Mr. Sharif admits he's used an
It only happens to
AK-47,
brown
claiming
people
it was to
or black
protect his
people.
aid convoys.
Never happens
Just
to white
because
people.
someone says they're an aid worker doesn't mean that they are
And
an
it's always
aid
your own
worker.
people,
and certainly all
like,
the
I don't
aid
mean
workers I
generally
know
our
have
own
never picked
person,
up
but
guns in
like
conflict.
another brown person talking about, oh yeah, we don't know if aid workers carry guns. Like, come on, bro, we're in war zone. Do you understand?
What separates us from other aid organizations is the fact that we're willing to go to those places that other people don't go.
Driving through different areas is dangerous. Yeah, man, we'll go to places where other people don't go. And this is why your normal average aid worker wouldn't be carrying a firearm, because they're not going 2-3 hours into Syria to go and give to people that really need it, or, bringing people out of areas that are getting evacuated with firepower and people shooting at them.
We're just in a small town of Ta'dil between Reef Muhandasin and Kafr Halab. And at the moment, there's ongoing battles between Jaysh al-Hur and Dawlat al-Iraq fi Sham or Sham.
So context behind this clip and what he's actually saying, because I know a lot of people might get mixed in with the Arabic and get a bit confused. We're going to evacuate 50 families from an area that is stuck in infighting. And this has happened so many times when we're in Syria. Hence why, he's hiding low, taking cover. Because, again, you can't just walk into an area that's got infighting. You'll get hit in a crossfire. But at the same time, we need to go and take out these families, these poor, innocent families that are, stuck in between this. And this has happened many a time. I remember going to a refugee camp one time, and again, with security, because two groups decided to have a shootout over the refugee camp and people were injured and we needed to evacuate them. Even one time, in the night, there was a shootout between two groups, and we were on our bikes, us lads. We'd just come back from editing, and sometimes it was Ramadan at this point, and we would work till 3, 4, 5, 6 in the morning. So we've come back, and I think it's about 3 o'clock at this point, and we basically got, kind of arrested at like an unknown checkpoint. We don't know which group it is. And we're only lucky that, we had security and my uncle was able to come, and people knew of us, that we got away from it. So these scenarios do happen. So when people tell you, oh, why are they carrying firearms? Because you know what? Our life is on the line. And in reality, if we want to go and save people, and if we don't want to get robbed and we don't want to get ransomed, there's, a famous doctor, subhanAllah, if you go back to the early days in 2013, 14 times, where he was kidnapped by ISIS and killed in the middle of the road, left his body out. So these things were happening. Aid workers were going missing, and we did not want to be another person that goes through that.
The threats that we face here are numerous. The Bashar regime doesn't want people like myself here. Then we have ISIS, who have excommunicated us for not joining their caliphate. And today, HTS started to put pressures on us.
So look at all of those different issues that we were going through. And one thing that nobody knows is that even with this documentary, people like HTS did not want it to go ahead. They did not allow it to actually be filmed. But yet, alhamdulillah, the team at Al Jazeera were persistent. They were out here arrested by a rebel group. I don't believe that sentiment. I believe that he was kidnapped. He was practically taken off the street while looking at a house with his wife. And this is where the narrative of the British government doesn't make sense. If he is aligned to the AQ group, who is HTS or Hayat Tahrir Sham, then how can he get kidnapped by that group? It makes no sense at all. But again, none of it has made sense the whole time. And even one of the things that HTS said was that he's a British spy. But again, so many blessings came from this. As you see these protests, this is the first time the Syrian people came out to protest for a foreigner, which is crazy.
As you can see behind me today, the people of Ottoman have come out to do a silent protest for Abu Qassam, for Taqir to come out of prison. Today marks the 14th day that he has been away from us, that he has been in the jails of HTS, and we ask them please to release him.
I remember filming this stuff and how it was a, what do you call it, like basically putting myself in danger. Some of these clips were not filmed by me, they were filmed by my mum, because as a lad I couldn't be out on the streets. I'm family with Tox, innit? So with him getting kidnapped, I was next, and I knew I was next. I was getting followed, I was getting, chased around, I was getting shot at. People like Dr. Shadul, aid workers that are famous, that are known outside, people like Mohammed Shakil, people that turned against us and were actually part of the kidnapping of Tox in the first place, because of jealousy, because of envy, because of all of this hate. This is what caused all of this. The reality is that we were always opposed to working alongside groups or gangs inside Syria. We were always opposed and ready to speak out if there was wrongdoing going on. And with HTS, that was the same thing. We spoke out against them because of the torture and what they were doing to the people inside Syria. And even with Tox getting kidnapped, again, they kidnapped the wrong person because he was a foreigner, because he was known, and they didn't realize that the public, not only in the UK, you guys that are watching, but also the Syrians would come out and, do as much as they can for him. They weren't ready for the backlash. So this is what it is. So for us, it's never been about, a kind of beef between people. It's always been about doing the right thing and speaking up for the truth. That's why we came out and spoke against these people like Dr. Shadul and Shaks and others like that, because of their complicitness in these acts. This is actually one thing that really annoyed them, because they did not expect him to come out and be held like a hero. SubhanAllah, with the amount of people that were there, you only see a little bit of the shot on camera, but there is so many people up and down that street. SubhanAllah. But this is only because of the work, man. Honestly, this is what, because of the work, because of the fact that we stayed really connected with the Syrians, and we stayed, and we asked Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to keep us this way humble in the work that we did, man. They're still out there doing it. Obviously, I'm back in the UK, but that was always a thing for us to remember, that we are not the dons or the ones, or you know, the people that were carrying and doing everything. That was never the case.
My hands were handcuffed behind my back, and a tire was squeezed over my knees. As I was there in that position, I heard a swoosh hit the bottom of my feet. Of course, the pain was excruciating.
Even getting out, I don't know if you guys have seen, but the video of the torture when he's explaining how he got tortured and stuff was a whole craziness in itself. I was the one that released that footage, and I had guys literally looking for me to try and basically kill me because that got out. And I'm not just talking about Syrians, again, foreigners. So subhanAllah, like, it was a very, very difficult time for us. But again, alhamdulillah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protected us throughout it. And these are the clips now of us moving into a new area, having to flee the area that we were originally living in Atma, in Idlib, to the countryside of Aleppo.
I think I took about maybe 8 to 10 blows.
You know, I remember some of these scumbag foreigners,
when they took me out of the tire,
like Dr. Shadra, etc., saying, you know, you got whipped 8 times like it was like a minor
like
thing.
I'd been standing on hot coals.
Cussing me out, you know, going publicly online and talking to you guys and saying that I'm a little kid and I don't know what I was talking about.
Muslim brothers.
And that my uncle was having a normal time in prison.
HTS put conditions on me. They said I can continue to do my work as long as I basically, you know, shut my mouth.
A British aid worker, Takir Sharif,
when this clip came out,
testified to being tortured.
You know, PBS questioning Jolani about the torture. And the thing is, you can blatantly see the lies in this guy's face. Again, I was never afraid to say this stuff there, and I'm not afraid to say it now.
Is it appropriate, in your view, to torture these prisoners?
There's a guy that said there's no torture, and then now in 2024 has come out publicly and apologized for torturing, but yet there was no torture. A lot of people ask us why we highlighted this stuff and why we talk about this stuff. It's never ever been about our case or my family. I don't really know, subhanAllah. Let me be brutally honest. I don't really care that it happened to our family. I care that it happens to Muslims on a daily basis. I care that there's still, you know, Syrian brothers and sisters that are being tortured till today. So this is what it is, and this is why we took that choice to speak up and speak out against this stuff. The same way, you know, we've done this whole story now, this documentary on being stateless and not being allowed back our rights, you know. It's the same thing for the Syrian brothers and sisters that are getting tortured and getting kidnapped, etc. That's their right. Their right is to have safety. So, yeah, this is why we done this.
What we've done is we've come out with my friend, his wife, children, and as you can see, blended in with our children. We're hoping that, you know...
the reason why we're doing this, obviously, is because there's HTS checkpoints along the way as well, that if we get caught out, it's a long day for us. But alhamdulillah, again, because of the work that we did, you know, having that, you know, notability or notoriety, I don't know what the word is, but being known by the Turkish government, the fact that, you know, we have an amazing project on the ground helped us, and being offered to come to those areas was definitely something big. At this point, I'm in the car behind. I wasn't in their car because I had to flee at the same time. Again, if my uncle had chipped and I was still there, they're going to come for me. And it was a common thing in Syria, and this is even during Bashar's times, where if they couldn't get the main guy that they were trying to go for, they would kidnap one of his other family members. more time it was males in the family, so they knew if they couldn't get, tox, then they would come for me.
But inshallah, this is the beginning of a new chapter in our lives.
What style are you wearing?
I'm wearing they say the Shami style, which is the style of the sister of Damascus.
So each different area in Syria, they have a different kind of niqab / style that they have. So this big glasses with the niqab wrapped round kind of thing was the Damascus style for women. Again, you know, something that people don't realize and don't take into account. You know, someone like my auntie, who is a woman of color, being a black woman, it's very easy for people to see that on a checkpoint and, you know, pull them up, and they know there's not going to be, you know, anybody else in that scenario. So yeah, hence why, you know, the wrap of the face, like making sure they look very, very different to how we normally look. Even you can see my uncle was a bit trimmed down, caps on. I had sunglasses on in the car that I was in, so those things were important that we had to kind of change the way that we look.
There's been points in my life where I'm like, look, man, enough is enough. I'm going back to the UK. But having that thing in my mind that, you know, one day, inshallah, we're going to go to Turkey, the family's going to come, everyone's going to see each other. We're going to have a massive family reunion.
You know,
that's something that I look forward to, you know.
I honestly wish that was the way it went. And then obviously for once I got into Turkey, if I was able to go back and come back, you know, it would be amazing. But again, this is now, I think, 2021 when they're filming this. After that, I ended up in the hospital. Not only that, I slowly started to realize that, look, it's going to take longer than the time that I thought, you know, that year or two span that we'll be able to do that. And I'm optimistic that inshallah it will happen. But yeah, for me, I had to reassess my situation, and I realized that, look, the chapter of Syria for me had come to a close, and it was time to move on, because I knew that I would be of benefit outside rather than being there, especially not being able to help people because I can't even help myself. So yeah, man, alhamdulillah, again, blessing from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to be back in the UK, back here now. It's nuts, innit? This is home for me, man. England. This road, this street that alhamdulillah I currently live on right now.
Careful.
My little daughter Sakina, inshallah, is gonna be growing up on these roads. Well, she's growing up already.
That's, you know,
She's
on
not
this road.
walking on that yet, but these are the roads that she'll know as home,
It's
inshallah, and
about
have that
7 years
safety
now.
that I had when I was a little kid that had that.
That's AJ there. I'm optimistic that things will change in the future.
You can see I get my optimism
When
from
you
my
think
grandma.
you know, you do think, you know, it
Alhamdulillah.
could go either way, but as Muslims, we're always optimistic and leave it to God.
But you can
and,
see, man,
then
it
you have less worry.
definitely us being
and
away,
you just take it
you
each
know,
day as it
in
comes.
and of itself, you know, affected them. But then with this citizenship deprivation, knowing that at this point that they could never ever see their son again, would definitely affect them even more. So this wasn't a year later, bro. This is 2023 they went in Syria, and 2022 September is when I came back to the UK. But alhamdulillah, you know, even this part, the British Home Office doesn't comment on individual cases. It just shows that they ain't got time for it. Like, we will do whatever it takes to ensure the safety and security of the UK. Deprivation of citizenship is a careful and considerate thing. Is it though? Let's be real. Was it careful and taken into consideration when it was done to the Windrush people? you know. So this is not a case that has just happened to people now. This has been going on, but it's been, you know, under the wraps. But it's because of, you know, people like my uncle coming out and speaking out against this stuff that it's kind of come to light. So it's definitely something that we should all kind of take heed of and realize that, you know, this is something that can happen to any one of us at any time. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I hope you guys like the stories and like the different things that I've, you know, gone through with you guys. If you want to watch the full video without me pausing it, then go to the link below, inshallah, and click on it if you haven't seen it already. But yeah, man, it's been your boy AJ. It's been a long time. I don't know when the next time I'm gonna do this again, but yeah, man, peace.